Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. Hi.
Hi, chat. Hi, chat. Hi, cuties.
Hi, everyone.
So many powder emotes in my chat, and honestly,
Oh
I
my
love it.
gosh.
Like,
We love.
I couldn't be happier. Yeah, I love your emotes. Which one is it? The AO? I see that one a lot. Like a lot of people in my community specifically have the powder AO, and it's really good.
It's so
I
good.
personally like the Nodders one. That's my favorite.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah.
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 Crackheads are here.
Yes.
Hi, crackheads.
Yes, Lucky's here, chat. Oh my gosh.
But hi, how are we doing? If you have never come by my stream before, hi, I'm Marina. I'm a variety VTuber. I'm a sweaty gamer girl, and yeah, I do this weekly stream on Fridays for sex ed and relationship advice, and I've been joined by wonderful guests in the past, and I'm joined by wonderful guests today, Powder and Lucky. And if you were like, hey, where's Cotton? You might think that she's under the bar because it's Cotton, but no, unfortunately, Cotton had to cancel today because she was having PC troubles. So if you came by for Cotton, I hope you stick around and hang out with us for a bit. But, you know, I understand if you're like, oh no, my streamer's not here. Well, Cotton is getting some stuff fixed up, and we'll be rescheduling. So you'll be able to catch her in the future. Yeah. But anyway, hi. It's so nice to see all these first time chatters, and a lot of my community. Thank you all for popping by. And it's an earlier time too. I know that we have normally done these at 9, which is normally in a couple hours from now. So I've really appreciated everyone popping by early with this earlier time. Yeah. But yeah, so if it's your first time here, we talk about sex ed questions and relationship advice questions that you submit. I know some people are trying to use the question command, which I don't mod check. Do you have any mods? I forgot to turn back on myself. I can do that if a mod hasn't already done that, but I will just hop on over to this question command.
We're patient. Everyone can just stare at my junkie's balls.
Yeah.
I am staring at your junkie's balls.
What do you think?
They could be bigger, you know. I have cotton balls bigger than that fucking thing.
They're average. They're average.
Average copium, yes.
Oh my god.
Look at how mad you made him. You made him mad.
Oh,
He's always mad. What the fuck?
I want to give him a little head pat.
Oh.
So
poor
cute.
junkie.
I want to give him a ball
command. Ayo. Ayo. Can we get some powder AOs in chat?
Ayo.
Oh my gosh, it's actually so funny.
We do have the question command up and running. So if you haven't already put a question in and you wanted to, you now can. I will tell you right now, we will not be able to answer every single question because we already have 182 questions, but we are not starting at the beginning. We will start closer to the questions that were submitted for the week, and not every question is picked. We kind of pick some questions that either we haven't had before on the show, and we try to mix things up with a different range of topics. So just to understand, if your question doesn't get picked, it's nothing personal. You are, again, one in like 182 questions right now, which will only get bigger when more people submit. All right, Powder, Lucky, it's so nice to have you too. Do you want to give a little bit about an introduction to yourself? You want to start, Powder?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, I'm Powder. I am a demon VTuber. I do spooky games, I do ASMR, I do just chatting, and yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I hope to not only maybe help you guys learn a bit more about yourselves. But also, I will be learning a lot as well. I will be learning a lot. And that's all I have to say. Yes. Thank you for having me, Marina.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Beautiful. Hi everyone, I'm Lucky. I'm a Bear Girl VTuber. I mainly stream horror games and I do just chatting streams. And I hope to embarrass you guys today for asking a lot of cringe questions. And I'm just kidding. And I hope to help you guys get some bitches.
Hell yeah.
Damn!
That's the goal, right? We're gonna
Yes.
help. Our goal, first and foremost, is to help Powder get some bitches, and then any of the bitches that
Right.
Powder doesn't want, chat, you can have the leftovers.
Yeah. Not me
Yeah,
though.
it's-
I'm Powder's #1 bitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we love that. We love that for you. So, yeah, like I said, I'm Marina. I'm a variety VTuber. I host this every week, and I've actually taught sex ed in a classroom setting. I was a teacher up until this year. I've taught science and math and health. Yeah, so I've taught quite a bit of sex ed, and I've had quite a bit of training on different things. And yeah, that's sort of my background. Y'all want to talk about why you're qualified, or maybe not so much, to be here and give advice?
Yeah. I like that. I like it in the not so much part because I think I fit into that a little bit more than some other people do. I would say I've been in a couple of very long-term relationships. I believe that I am a bit more knowledgeable on the relationship end as opposed to maybe the sexual ed end. I am definitely more of what you would call a vanilla person myself. So I have a lot of learning to do, a lot of exploring to do, and if anything, I'm a very open-minded person when it comes to this. I always love learning, and I hope
Oh.
that not only will you guys learn a bit about us and maybe a bit about yourselves, but I don't know. Yeah, I hope to become more confident in the way that I feel and all things sex and relationships. Yeah.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Well
Real
said.
quick, thank you so much for the 5 months, Ragnarok and Pravango. What the hell? Thank you for the 5 gift
Wow!
subs. I really
Gifted
appreciate it.
chads! Gifted
Thank you, thank
chads!
you.
Okay. I think that I'm pretty qualified on both fronts here. I've been, not a lot of people know this, but I've been in a relationship for the last 8 years, since high school, with the same person. So I feel like I have a lot of like good advice to give there. And I'm also a degenerate. I know way too much about things I should not know about as someone who's been in a relationship for 8 years. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about both. I love degenerate shit. So yeah.
And so do we. So that's a good fit.
Yeah.
That's a good fit. That's a good fit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. That's cool. So I have a question to start us off for Powder.
Mm-hmm.
You say you're more vanilla. Is that by choice or by experience?
I'd say by experience, there's definitely been things that like I would say make it a little more of a spicy vanilla latte, but nothing that's too
Vanilla
like
chai.
crazy. Yeah, like a vanilla chai
Like you
latte.
put on a blindfold one time or
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. Well, like exactly right. Like have definitely been open to trying. Like if I'm ever
Mhm.
approached with like by a person who says like want to try this,
Huh.
usually most of the time it's always been like a okay, yeah, why not? you know?
Mm.
Cool.
And then
cool,
we
cool,
go
cool.
from there and if it works, it works.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so it sounds because I feel like I've talked to different people who have different kind of perspectives on when they say like, oh, I'm vanilla, and some people are just like, I just like regular sex. I just want to be loved, and I just want to like do it with somebody I care about, and it's nice. And then I have some people who are like, I just don't have a lot of experience, and like if someone wants to tie me up, like I mean, I guess like I could think about it or get into it if I feel safe. And like for
Yeah.
them, it's more like, oh, like I'm interested in trying things. I just don't even know where to start, or like, so
Yeah. Or you haven't like had that experience yet with someone,
yeah,
like, or you haven't found someone to experience that with yet.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
definitely a person who's like, I can understand that perspective too, of like, I feel that too. Like, if I find something that works, then it works. Sometimes I don't need like all the extra stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
so I can be content with some more mild things too.
Mm. Sometimes you just want a vanilla latte without the chai.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like even with people who maybe will call themselves more kinky or something, like sometimes it's nice to just enjoy somebody for who they are instead of having some kind of scenario or kink or something else driving
Yeah.
like the
It's
situation.
exhausting a lot of the time, like too. A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff that you like maybe want to do, like you just don't have the energy to do it, you know? It could be
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. It's definitely a really good point. Um. All right. All right. I guess we can hop into a question if you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take something from chat?
From chat, yeah.
Are we ready?
Let's
Are we
go.
ready?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
so
Okay.
ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's grab something. So I'm gonna look and see. Let me just format these real quick. I'll find a good one to start us off. And also, oh, I just noticed. I liked the reddish hair that you have, and I wanted to match for my Christmas outfit. So I forgot to toggle on my.
Oh my gosh. We
I forgot to
matched.
toggle
That's
on
so
my
cute.
my
Oh my
Christmas colors.
gosh.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Wow. Dude, look at Pow in the middle of us. This is perfect.
I've
Yeah.
scored. I've got 2 redheads. Oh my god.
Do you like redheads, Pow?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good answer. Good answer.
Good answer,
Imagine
good
if she was
answer.
like, no, not
No.
really. Like, yeah. Like, okay.
Honestly, it's like my like preferred hair type for people interested in has always been if their hair is darker than mine, I'm a
Mm.
blonde. So I'm like, I don't know.
okay.
I'm like, I gotta have darker hair than me.
Yeah, yeah.
Low contrast. We like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've always had a thing for redheads, so I totally get it, you know?
Yeah, there can only be one dumb blonde in the relationship, you know?
Oh my God.
gotta
That is
be
not
me.
true.
All right. So let's pull one up. This one is we'll start with a general question. It says, "Hi there, Marina and company. I was wondering, but generally speaking, does body type or dick size really matter to girls a lot, or does it depend on the girl?" Question mark.
For me, I'd say it definitely depends on the girl. There's so many
Yeah.
like it's I hate to be that person to be like, well, it depends, but it really does. Like
Yeah.
that's why you run into girls that are
I
like,
love
oh,
you,
I prefer a
Marina.
guy who's chiseled. I prefer a guy who has more of the dad bod. Dick size matter? For my personal opinion, I would say, yeah, to a degree, it does a little bit. I definitely want to be able to feel pleasure from it. I think there's a lot more that goes into it than just the size of it, of course. But yeah, if that kind of gives you a basic idea, that's my answer for you.
Have you ever been with somebody that you felt wasn't up to your size standards? Like, have you ever experienced someone who was like too small for you to feel like you were really enjoying it as much as you could?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to do some work for myself afterwards, and you know.
Oh no.
Okay, and what is that situation like? Like, are they even are they just like, okay, got myself off, see ya? Like, or did they offer to like, how were they aware, or like was there like how? What is it like in
Yeah.
that situation for you?
Yeah, I've never been in that situation, so that's a good question.
Yeah, so he finished, and then I was like, well, I'm he could tell that I did not reach that point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he was like, "Oh, well, maybe I can help you." But he was very like inexperienced with his
Oh.
mouth and
Mhm.
stuff. So at one point he just like kind of gave up. He was like, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing." And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
"All right, I got it."
At least he could like major props for being able to be like, listen, I'm not what you need right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just like, and I can't be like, let me show you how it's done, with my
Yeah,
mouth.
yeah.
But
Yeah. I am curious, do you think it was so much the size as much as like not really knowing? Because I'm wondering like
yeah,
if they didn't know how to use their mouth, like that makes me think
Yeah.
they didn't really know how to do anything. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. I that could be my thought process, because this was only one
yeah.
time, right? So that's kind of what I base my opinion off of, is this one experience where he wasn't up to size, but nor was he probably up to experience as well. So
Mm.
Hmm.
it
Maybe
probably
if
went
he did
hand in
have
hand.
experience, it would
Yeah,
have gone better, maybe.
I think
Was
so
this
too.
was this the only time that you ended up doing that with this person? Was it
Um,
or was it like a
there
while?
was a a try again period for sure.
Okay.
But it
Mm.
just didn't happen again. So yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like I didn't.
Okay, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I see what
So
you're saying.
yeah, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like a, well, I don't know. It's such a weird experience when you operate on a emotional connection, but then like a
Right.
Mm.
sexual connection is not there, and it makes you kind of get in your head a little bit about like, like
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
maybe
it's tough for sure.
yeah, but maybe there's more like teaching to be had, but the
Mm. You shouldn't have to
um
teach in that moment. I think that could be
yeah,
done elsewhere, you know.
well, and throughout our time being together for a while, it felt like you should kind of know what you're doing at this point. Like
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it
valid.
had been such a long time, a lot of
Yeah.
trying, and it was just like
I
What I
mean,
so
you can only deal with that for so long, right? Like you have needs too, and
yeah.
it's not really
And
on
yeah.
you.
for people in chat who might be like, "Oh no, I hope I don't end up in that situation." Like, what do you think? Do you think there's anything that could have made that better? Like, do you think there's anything that they could have done? What do you think they should have done to kind of like try to solve this situation or maybe like work towards making the situation better?
Mm, yeah, help
Do you
using
feel
the
like they
toy.
communicated? Do you feel like they communicated with you enough or were open enough to like trying to learn what they weren't doing right or anything like that?
Yeah, like were they receptive to feedback or anything like that maybe?
Yeah, they came across as like, um, yeah, we can try that next time. But then it always like got to a weird dynamic of they got upset, and I didn't really
Yeah.
want to push it, you know?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I had a feeling. I think they were taking what you were saying too serious, too
Yeah.
personally. Like it was like it wasn't personal though. You were like trying to
No.
help, and they just took it personally in the moment because it's obviously it's sensitive, but also it's not helpful to react that way when they should know that you're not doing it to personally attack them at that point. Especially if you're together a long time, it's like, come on, it's not
Yeah.
personal.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to fucking come, like Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
like, oh my God forbid.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
What is the opposite of like what? I wasn't blue balled, but I was having a
You're like
moment.
deflated.
Yeah. Deflated.
yeah, it's like it's edging, right? It's like you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
getting worked
Yep.
up and then it's like, "Nah, that's it though. Have fun."
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
It
yeah.
sucks.
Okay, so definitely like, and this is going to be a big thing. I'm sure is going to come up over and over and over again today. Chat is communication
Mm,
Seriously.
is important.
yeah.
And when you're sitting there like, oh, Powder said that they didn't know how to, like, they weren't really good with their mouth. Like, how do I learn? You want to know right now the best tips for using your mouth?
I want to know.
Communicate.
Mm.
Listen and talk to your partner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even a simple question of, did you like that? Yes or no? Like it's that easy. It's that easy.
Yes. I love that. I love it when a guy, like when you're doing something and a guy is
Mhm.
like just that little bit of reassurance of being like,
Yes.
that's nice, or oh,
Yeah.
that feels good. Cause then I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, I'm doing it. Good job. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it's vice versa for everyone. It's like I think
Yeah.
everyone likes getting that feedback.
Mhm.
So remember that, whether it's you as the person, or whether you're thinking about your partner, like, yeah, we all like that kind of stuff. But also, it's okay to ask questions, right? Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to stop what you're doing and be like, hey, so I'm worried that it's not good. Is that good? Like, that's not the way to do it, right?
No.
But you could be like, you can be you go into Chow Town, and then just for a second kind of be like, yeah, how do you like that?
Mhm.
Is that good? Like,
Yeah.
see what
Don't
someone says.
Yeah, and don't be like ashamed if you are inexperienced to like just be very upfront about that. Like you
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
know what you're exactly doing, because I was fine with that element of it, of the not knowing, but the anger behind
Yeah.
trying several times kind of puts the other person in a very awkward place of like,
Right.
well, I don't want to make them angry again, so I don't know if I
Yeah.
should bring it up, or
Yeah. Well, that
how.
just sounds unhealthy. It sounds like they took something very personally that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you want to add on this, Lucky?
I
If
just want
body
to
type or dick size matters?
emphasize, yeah, I just want to emphasize the fact that like everyone is different. Everyone always wants the golden rule answer of, am I up to par for every single girl? Yes or no. And the answer is always going to be no. Like you're not the golden guy that every girl will always love. Like that's a little like that's unrealistic. Like it doesn't like obviously there are common traits and things that like most girls enjoy on a larger scale because that's what's like presented in media and stuff as like like the golden standard, but it's literally just different for every person. So if you feel like you're not good enough for someone, there's always someone else. Like first of all, screw them for like not making you feel that way, right? If they like told you that or like were mean about it. But on the other hand, it's like everyone has a preference and that's okay. As long as they're not like rude about it, it's like you're not going to be for every girl and that's fine, but there's someone else for you somewhere. It doesn't have to like you don't have to fit a mold for one person, and there's no like real golden standard because the reality is like I've talked to my girlfriends about like things we do and don't like, and guess what, all of our opinions are like completely different. Like,
Uh-huh.
you
Right.
know what I mean? So it's just like if you think there's one like rule that we like sit around and like agree on, like it's not real, it's not a thing. Everyone's different, and that goes for dick size too, even though I know that's like sensitive because people make jokes about it and stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a average there's an average, there's an average size, but like whether you fit that size or not, it doesn't mean you'll be good at sex or not. Like it's
Yeah.
not the end all
Yeah.
be all. So just like Marina was saying, like whoever you're with, just communicate to them, ask them questions, like see what they
Mm-hmm.
like. That's what's important, you know? So I just want to
Yeah.
emphasize that there's no
Yeah.
like one rule. There's no
Mm-hmm.
secret. There's no secret girl code of like the standard. It doesn't exist. So
Yeah. You just do your thing and
yeah.
communicate. That's the biggest thing you can do. Because here's the thing. Like Lucky said, there's no golden standard. You know what's closest to the golden standard? Average.
Mm,
Do you know
yeah.
why? Because there's such a thing as too small, but there's also such a thing as too
It's too
big,
big. Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Oh my
Have
gosh,
you all ever
yes.
experienced too big?
Yes.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
That
too big, but getting there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
That's
like it takes a little bit of prep work like if you're at that size and if you don't prep
yeah.
the right way, it can be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
There's a right way to do it at any size. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah.
You might have to work a little bit harder if you're on either end of the spectrum, but it's not impossible,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
that's the
Yeah.
thing, there's some people are just like, "Oh, I wish I was huge." And that's not the right
No.
Yeah.
answer. Like
Yeah.
there's I think some people are surprised. I think some guys are surprised to find out how many people are like, "Oh yeah, no, like there's such a thing as too big and like
Yeah.
that's too big for me." And then you end up in the opposite, right? Like you end up with like if you don't know how to use what you are working with personally with
Mhm.
most people, like you're going to have a problem, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Regardless
think
of this the size, like
mhm,
again, regardless of the end of the spectrum, like this is it's problems both ways.
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I will absolutely say that like there's no one right answer, and the best thing that
Mhm.
you can do is learn how to please someone holistically
Mhm.
and learn how to communicate with a partner on how to please them because every person is different,
Yeah.
right? I've been with women that don't like oral. I've been with women that don't like penetration. I've been with women that, don't like certain things that other people like, right?
Mhm.
Uh it's all over the place. Some women like getting their ass eaten, some don't. Some are like don't go near me and some are like that's really hot. Like it's all over the place and you don't know
Yeah.
until you talk to people, right?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
and that's part of getting to know someone is like, hey, like what are you into? Do you have any like things that are turn ons or any kinks or whatever it might be? And that's just part of the process, right?
Yeah.
Learning and trying to do because sex ultimately should never be you're just trying to get off with someone. Sex should
Hmm.
be you are trying to uh give someone a really nice and pleasant sexual experience and
Mhm.
vice versa. They to find a good partner is someone who wants to do that for you too, right?
Yeah.
Right.
um
Right.
you want to be equals in things, even if here's something to clarify, especially because if there's a lot of straight dudes watching.
Mhm.
Equals includes like dom sub relationships,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people see too many like dating coaches who are like, you gotta be the man, you gotta be dominant, this and that. And that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that you can't ask questions. That doesn't mean that even if someone does want you to lead a situation, like oof, you have to communicate.
Yeah.
It's so important. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I feel like unless anyone wants anything to add, we can hop to
Yeah.
another one. But that was it. That's
Oh,
a good
that was
first
good.
question. Yeah.
That
Mhm.
was good.
Yeah.
Covered a
And
lot.
thank you for sharing personal experiences too. Really
Oh
appreciate
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah.
it. Let me see what else we can grab. It's just a quick one. I don't want to spend too much time on, but it's because it's related. Do you have a preference between girth or length when it comes to being
Mm,
penetrated?
I don't think I do, honestly. I don't think it matters too much.
Mm. It's hard.
I love
Like,
watching. I love watching your model go and like look up as you're thinking.
um, I'll say this based off of experience
Yeah.
that I've found that girth has been best so far.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
also like, it's like a
There's a
mix.
lot
I
of
don't know. Like,
factors.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors. Depends on what you're doing. Like sometimes what position you're in also makes a big
Yes.
difference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
that too.
it's so
Yeah.
individualized. Like it just depends on the context. Depends what you're doing, how fast you're doing it, that kind of thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I
Right.
I can't answer the question because I'm a top and not a bottom. I do the pegging, not the receiving. So I
Mm.
for me personally, that wouldn't matter. I don't know.
Have you found has someone ever like asked for maybe a certain like size or something from you, or has what you
Uh,
done just worked?
no, I mean everything that yeah, it's just part of my experiences too is like kind of what I said. I just do like holistically.
Mm,
Mm.
I penetration is a part of like the sexual experiences that I have, but
Mm.
I generally like to do other things, and obviously within what my partner likes too. But I feel
Mm.
like for most people that I'm with, sex involves a lot of oral, a lot of
Yeah.
hands, a lot of it's penetration too usually, but a lot of
right.
oral and hands are like in addition to it. I think too many people are just like sex is all right. We're gonna pull off the pants and put it in now, right? Like instead
Yep.
of
There's so much more to it.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah,
whole like a dance. It's like
Yeah.
multiple
yeah,
steps.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, I've definitely been with people that have different I guess preferences for like where they're at or what they're ready for. Like some people need
Yeah.
smaller and some people want bigger. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
It just kind of depends on
Yeah.
what that situation is, yeah. Um okay, let's see. Uh Oh, this is something that does get brought up. I guess it's not really a question as much as it's something, but why are so many people not aware that the hymen is perforated and not a seal over the vaginal canal? Did you know
Oh.
that, chat? One in chat if you knew that everyone's gonna lie and put a one. One in chat if you knew that the hymen was not just like a seal that gets popped or broken.
I have a
It's
strong
more
opinion
like
on this.
something that gets stretched or opened. But yes, please, please.
So I would guess the main reason why is because
Yeah.
there is a blatant lack of sex education in schools,
Uh-huh.
and it, not to get too political, but there are obviously political motivations behind that.
Mhm.
Religious motivations, things like that. And people don't realize how actively, like currently, right now in 2022, people dedicate money, time, and resources to actively blocking these kinds of education in schools, even though it's like hugely important for a vast number of reasons. Like that's probably not like that's like a good thing to know, like just on an intimate level, like but like there's a larger picture of things, of basic concepts such as use contraception that are just, they just don't let people talk about that in school. And I would
Mhm.
guess that's like largely the reason why people don't know such a fundamental just fact. And not only just guys, because like I know there's a lot of guys watching. It's not just you guys. Like girls don't even know that about their own bodies because
Mhm.
they're not told, they're not like taught, like nothing's explained to us because they actively block it, even though it is basic fundamental information that everyone should know. And there's no good reason to not teach people that. Once you get to a certain age, you need to know your own body for your own safety, I feel. So the fact that they don't allow that is ridiculous.
Wait, what was the question again? Because I feel like I may not know.
Yeah, it's not
Oh
like
my gosh.
it's not
Yeah.
like a Pringles can lid. No, no, no.
I'm not joking too. I just
The
I
oh the question wasn't really like a question asking us to answer. It was more just something that I thought was an interesting comment. It was that a lot of people don't realize that the hymen
Hmm.
inside a vagina, like once before someone quote unquote loses their virginity, which is a whole nother
Hmm.
like weird topic. Um,
Right.
but yeah, before the hymen's broken, that it is more just like a tighter opening around the vagina and not a seal that like gets popped open or something.
The
Yeah.
term like popping your cherry, like it's not real. It doesn't exist. Like it's
Yeah.
not a thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
hmm
Sorry. Sometimes
Like
when getting
no, you're
super like
fine.
science, it's not even like super scientifically like blah 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 about that.
It's
I
vocabulary.
I
Yeah.
actually have not like I knew that the popping the cherry thing wasn't a thing, but did not know actually about that. It was like a
Yeah.
like that. So
It's
I
Yeah.
learned
because
something
like
new too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't help that in like movies and stuff, they like continue to perpetuate this like ridiculous idea of
Mhm.
something that like doesn't exist. And
Yeah.
I think certain like porn and stuff, like they probably speak about it in that way too, because they're like trying to live up to that fantasy, but it's not real.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. All
Um.
right.
All right. So here's another one. There's a girl I like whose best friend
Mm.
likes me. I'm not interested in said friend whatsoever, but the girl I like doesn't want to get close to me because she thinks it would be betraying her best friend. Any tips on how to proceed with the situation?
Ooh. I personally think that they should work it out between themselves. Like I feel like you're kind of a third party to this. Like if they really are like best friends, then there's a conversation that like needs to be had and they need to figure out how they want to approach it. You shouldn't have to make a choice in that situation in my opinion. They need to figure out kind of the level of their importance of their friendship versus a relationship, and that's something that you cannot decide for
Trans
them.
rights.
Yeah.
I was laughing at the sound alert, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think that's not really fair to put that decision onto you. That's not an easy decision to make between friends. I've been there before and it fucking sucks. Um, Especially if things are getting very serious between like a person and a partner or a crush or whatever. But that's not on you to decide, I don't think. So
yeah.
that's what I
Right.
think.
And I guess, yeah, I end up having a couple of questions in this scenario. It's like,
Yeah.
so you're not interested in the friend. Did you, did you meet this person through that best friend?
hmm Yeah, the
There's a whole
context
bunch, yeah,
also.
there's kind of like context things that I'm not sure, but I guess
Mhm.
generally, yeah, generally I agree. I think it's something that everyone kind of needs to talk about so it's out on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
But also,
lot of
yeah,
questions.
so there's a girl who I like whose best friend likes me, but the girl I like doesn't want to get close to me because she thinks it would be betraying her best friend. The another question is, are you sure? Uh, are you
Mm.
sure she's not making an excuse? Not to put like
Oh,
brainworms in
true.
your brain, but like,
Yeah.
is it actually clear without a shadow of a doubt that she is like, I like you, but, or is she
Mm.
just saying like, hey, this is really uncomfortable for me. And my friend likes you, so yeah, leave me alone. Like, it's like
Yeah.
the context of it is
Very
kind.
important.
It could be a yeah, because
Yeah.
Did she tell you that verbatim, or are you guessing based on the situation? Are you assuming?
yeah,
Were you told from a third party that that's like again? Almost everything boils down to communication, kind of thing. Um, so
Yeah.
if you're not like
yeah,
sure, I would just ask or just tell them like, hey, you guys are the best friends, not me. So maybe you should have a talk, and then we'll see what happens
Yeah.
after, kind of thing.
I was put in somewhat of a situation where I was friends with two guys and
Mm,
I liked his best friend.
Mm.
and me and the best friend got together, but it turned
Oh,
sour for
okay.
the whole friendship. And the one who, got like ostracized was the guy who was not in the relationship. So you just
Mm.
definitely approach the situation very carefully because it's not
Yeah.
something that's like I think of like very fondly, I'm not like, oh yeah,
Mm.
fuck
Right.
that guy. I'm just kind of like, that sucks. You don't want to lose friends. If
Did the
anything, like
friend like
my,
you? Is that what it was? The friend
yeah,
liked you,
yeah,
but their friend
Oh,
was the one that also liked you and you liked.
yeah.
Okay.
okay.
So wait, if that makes sense. So like they
Yeah,
Yeah,
both
so
yeah,
they
were
probably felt like
open.
they were third wheeling or weren't good enough or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, like they were like maybe the second choice or
Mm.
what, just the feelings weren't there or something.
Yeah.
Um
yeah. It happens.
yeah, but just my first initial thought when hearing the question, I don't like want to scare anyone, but like I just would not even
Mm.
try to get in a relationship with either of them.
Yeah.
Like if you're friends with both of them, I think if it's a healthy friendship, I think hold on to the healthy friendship before you explore a
Mm.
relationship. I think there's
Yes.
other options out there and they
Yeah.
will be there as your support system when you find someone outside of that friend group. I think that's sometimes a better way to go. Like the
Yeah.
world is very big.
They aren't the only
Yeah.
two girls in the world, and sometimes it's not even worth getting into the situation because, like Powder said, it just ends so sourly, and then you lose everyone. So it's
Yeah.
it's risky for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely something important also. Yes, to go back and ask yourself, what are you looking for?
Mm.
Because I'm someone personally, and I think this is just a good outlook for people to have, that you should always be interested in being friends with people first.
I
And
agree.
especially if it
Yeah.
came from like, I like this girl and her best friend likes me, this and that. Like, are you all even friends? Or are you literally just like, hey, this girl's hot. Like, I want to talk to her and try to get with her, but her friend likes me.
Mm.
Like, what's your relationship like, right? Because
Yeah.
if that's the situation, like, that's just a mess, and that's like not. Yeah, I would dip out of that.
Yeah,
Mm.
the best friend might even in the time that you are unable to decide on kind of
Yeah,
what to do, the best friend might even be able to move on if that makes sense too.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's sticky. Definitely a sticky situation that I wouldn't wish on people.
yeah,
That's rough.
yeah, for sure. All right, we can take another question. How do we ask questions? Exclamation point question brings up the form, and that's where all the questions that were being asked are. All right, okay, so um, okay, my girlfriend suddenly asked me if she can try doing butt stuff on me, like
Mm.
with them receiving.
Mhm.
But it's something I feel really uncomfortable about. She would keep bringing it up randomly as a joke, and I feel like I'm slowly beginning to feel more and more pressured into doing it. Should
Mm.
I say something against it, or should I just let her? It's pretty easy for her to pressure me into doing stuff when it comes to sex, so I don't know if I should be worried about her eventually pressuring me into doing a bunch of stuff, even if I'm uncomfortable with it.
Oh my gosh.
I was like,
I think
Well,
you sh-
I have so
Whoa.
many thoughts, but one of you all take that, please.
I think you should definitely say something. I mean, it sounds like this is a very toxic pattern that's going to keep happening, like you said, and I don't think this is going in a good direction. I feel like it's not spoken enough, like about how these kinds of things, like they happen both ways. They happen in straight relationships, not straight relationships, both ways, whatever, it doesn't matter. So just because you're the guy and she's your girlfriend or whatever, does
We
not fucking
assume,
mean that
I guess we don't know gender, but yeah,
yeah. Even
assuming
if
that
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 is
might be it.
Yeah, even if that's the case, and that's like the stem of your hesitation to say something, I'm sorry if I'm assuming too much, but if that is the case, I think you should still stand your ground and say something. I mean, your boundaries are just as important, you know, and you're clearly like very uncomfortable, and the fact that you're even asking if you should like speak up about something like this, it's like you definitely should. That is not okay. And you should not feel pressured at any point by anyone to do anything sexually, even if they're your partner or not. So I would
Yes.
definitely say something for sure.
Yeah.
I I think that's an extremely important distinction to make, is that this doesn't matter what gender you are or what gender your partner is. If you ever feel pressured into doing something that you don't want to do, that is wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's, what the person's gender is. Any person of any gender can pressure any person of any gender into doing
Hmm.
something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
Yeah.
You and I know there's a lot of different things. Sometimes people give in to pressure, but this is us giving you advice saying, please don't do that to yourself.
Yeah.
That's important. The answer is no, you should not just let her, like, that's sad to read, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to communicate that
Yeah.
something's wrong. And
Hmm.
here's the thing, they could maybe really, really, really want to peg you. And that's something that's like they've really wanted to do, and they're bringing it up as a joke to see, haha, maybe like it can happen. But if you don't want to do it, you just have to say that, right? Like you need to make it
Hmm.
clear, like, hey, I feel like you've been bringing this up, and I want to bring it up because it's been making me uncomfortable. I don't know if you're just joking about it or really wanting to do it, but I don't want to
Hmm.
do that.
Yeah.
And I really
Be
need you to stop
strong.
joking about it. Yeah, like I really
Yeah.
need you to stop joking about it because it's affecting our relationship.
Hmm.
That's the
Mhm.
kind
Yeah.
of stuff that you need to bring up, because otherwise you get to a point where you're like, you know, if if not, it could push you to the point to where you're just like ready to give up, break up. However, I will also
Yeah.
say I'm extremely concerned by
Yeah.
the it's pretty easy for her to pressure me into doing stuff when it comes to sex. Like this is
Yeah.
an ongoing thing.
Seems like a pattern that needs to stop, you know?
Yes. And
Yeah.
I'm usually the person on the like extreme end of the spectrum that tells you if there's perpetuated stuff that's going on that's not okay, break up with them. Some other
Yeah.
people might tell you try to work it out first, but either way, I think it needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
You know,
At the very
um,
least, try and maybe have a conversation about it. I think their reaction to the conversation is also going to be
Yeah.
essential to this kind of decision, right? If they are genuinely like, oh, I did not realize you were uncomfortable, like, I really apologize, and you see actual change after the fact and not just like them saying they'll change and then not changing after you bring it up. I think
um,
that'll be a good indicator. You know, how they react is usually helpful in like this kind of thing. If they get super defensive and they don't react well to you setting a very basic boundary, then you might want to reconsider your relationship.
right.
Yeah.
Mm,
There's definitely a level of respect you need to
Hmm.
have for each other. Um,
Yeah,
it's so hard because while listening and while even thinking of the question, my mind is going like all different routes of,
yeah.
of course, all of these questions, with context added could be dived into a lot deeper. But yeah, I think it comes down to like what they said: sit her, him, any gender down, and let them know like this is your wall, like this is your boundary. Um, I also think like the joking because maybe she doesn't understand yet. Like, have you communicated well enough that you are super uncomfortable with this? Because from what I'm feeling is that you are a very shy person. So you need to be very strong in this
hmm,
sense. This is some place where if you're getting to a point where you're uncomfortable doing sexual things with someone, this is the time for you to kind of like break out of your shy shell and really, because you're going to move forward in that relationship, and there's going to be it's going to be a repeated pattern, and it already kind of sounds like it, where that
Yeah.
Yeah.
respect is going to just go out the window a lot of times, and that's just going to ultimately lead to a very, very toxic situation of
Mm.
each of you picking apart at each other, and it's not going to end very well. or or just go on very well. Just be strong. I
Mm.
believe you can do
Yes.
it.
Yourself, please do it.
Yeah.
Please do it for yourself. Please.
Mhm.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've pretty much said it, but you need to communicate. Like, if
Mm.
the person who asked this question is listening, or anyone else in similar situations, whether it's anything, remember, someone in chat mentioned this, and it's a really good point. It starts to cross the line of consent. If you're getting
Yeah.
manipulated or talked into something, like, just because someone hesitantly says okay to something is an obvious sign of, like, they're not really, they're giving you, like, manipulated consent. Like, they're giving
Yeah.
you, like, something that you've pressured someone into, and it's not just a, like, oh, well, they did say okay, so everything's fine, and it's like the whole time they said no 3 times beforehand,
Yeah.
or like they said I'm uncomfortable. Like, those are all giant red flags that you're not like, oh, well, they said they were uncomfortable, but then they said yes finally, as they didn't make eye contact. Like, just things that are really obvious, right? That are like, come on, like, don't put
Yeah.
someone in an uncomfortable situation. And think that stuff through. Like, it's really important. And if you're on the end where someone's doing that to you, like, you remember, just because you're dating someone doesn't mean that you have to consent to anything in
Mm-hmm.
particular, or any time, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because you do stuff with your partner all the time, or maybe you're like, you want to try it once and you don't want to do it again, and they want to do it again, like that kind of thing too. Like, it just, consent can always be withdrawn, even in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Um okay, so here's one I feel like is pretty straightforward. um what are the dangers of anal sex?
Ooh.
And I
There's
can
a
hop into
lot.
this one too, or if someone else wants to start, you can feel free to.
Um, Me personally, I don't really have much to say on the topic.
Mm.
Um, it hurts. It can
Yeah.
hurt. But go
Yeah.
on. Lucky if you are
Mhm.
more knowledgeable.
I think when you're gonna do something like that, I think one of the dangers, first of all, is just doing it without like researching or like figuring out like a safe way to do it, because you could really hurt not only yourself but like someone else if you don't do it the right way. Um, there's a lot of like physical and internal like harm that could be done if not done the right way. Besides things like infections or transmitting of things you don't want and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
At the very basic fundamental level, like you could hurt yourself or whoever you're doing it with if you don't do it the right way, and it could have lasting like implications because it's not like normal penetration. It should be treated a little differently.
Right.
So I would just say, please just research beforehand. Everything you see in porn is not real. It's not really the way to do it.
Right.
Like they edit out so much stuff. So please don't just watch one video and think you know how to do it, because you're gonna hurt yourself or the other person or both, and that hurt
Yeah.
doesn't go away right away all the time. Could be
Yeah.
a long lasting hurt. So yeah.
And yeah, I think it's important to clarify that there are ways to perform anal sex safely, and there's a way to perform anal sex hygienically.
Mhm.
They're like two different things. They probably both things that if you want to do anal sex are things you're interested in looking up. But
Yeah.
I think this goes for any kind of thing that you're not really familiar with or anything you think
Yes.
you're familiar with. Like you should always do research uh on any kind of, sexual practice that
Yeah.
you're maybe not familiar with or educated about. This is anything from kink stuff, like don't just start tying someone up with rope you bought at the hardware store because you
Yeah.
think that's hot. Like,
Mhm.
you know, don't just be like someone says they might be into choking, so you start like choking them in the middle. Like, there are all these things that are like, there are safe ways to engage in kinks or whatever it might be. And you
Mhm.
please, please, please make sure you do the research for your sake and for your partner's sake, right? Both
Yeah.
of you. It's not just up to you do the research. It's up to, both people to look into it and have an idea and an understanding. It's always important. Okay, so
Yeah.
to kind of answer your question, what are the dangers? Well, there's a few different things. One of them, when you're asking what are the dangers on a sort of like STD sense, you have to treat the anus just like the vagina.
Mm.
Um, it's the same idea. And anything that is what you know about the vagina, like how you can get an STD by having sex with someone who has a vagina, it's the same idea of the anus essentially. Um, the ass is not self lubricating, so
Mhm.
there's not like vaginal fluids that are coming out of the ass, but there are like other kind of uh fluids that
Yeah.
come out of the ass, and it's still a mucous membrane. Like the the inside of the ass and the inside of a vagina are both mucous membranes, so they both behave the same way, meaning fluids or things get into there and they can like penetrate that mucous membrane. Um, either way, when I mean penetrate, I mean like if semen or something from someone who has an STD gets inside of a vagina, it can like spread that STD the same way it could inside of an anus. Either way, it's the same kind of thing. So protection is important. It's not if you're protecting from STDs, it's the same idea. Wearing a condom in a vagina, same idea of wearing a condom in with anal sex, right? That's the important thing. Obviously, you can't get pregnant from anal sex, or maybe not. Obviously, I don't know. You can't get pregnant from anal sex though. Little spermies aren't going to travel from the butt to the vagina magically. Um, so that's not an issue. But again, just to practice safe sex in terms of STDs and things like that, it is important to always be protected. Um, physically, vaginas self lube. Even though some people have different levels of lubrication, and some people make plenty of lubrication, and some people need their own added lubrication. Keep in mind the ass does not self lubricate in any way, shape, or form. Don't just spit on it and think you're okay to put it in. Like, yeah, you're gonna need lubrication. Um, so anytime you're engaging with anything like that, because it's a non-lubricating orifice, like you need a lot of lubrication. You think you have enough lubrication, you're gonna need more. Like, yeah, like tons and tons and tons. And here's the other thing: once you get started, whether it's a toy or a person's appendage or whatever, like lube it up. You can try to get started and lube it up more in the middle. Like you can keep adding stuff, right? Stuff's gonna get used. Stuff's gonna get to a point where like you need to kind of keep I can't think of the word. Like there's just you gotta sustain.
Momentum.
Yeah. You gotta
Yeah.
sustain the like the lubricated levels of what's going
Mm.
on. Um, and this is for anyone who's like, whether you're at home alone using a toy or with a partner, like
Yeah.
keep in mind the first time, and not even the first time, but like anytime people are doing like anal play, um, it's extremely important for people to warm up. There is an
Mhm.
idea of like warm up, foreplay, that kind of thing for the anal region, right? Um, not even getting into like the hygiene part. So I guess we can talk about the hygiene parts really quick. But basically, it's something we all know. Poop's gonna come out of there. So generally, with any kind of butt play or stuff like that, the hygiene part is the person who's receiving is probably gonna want to make sure that they're clean. They're gonna make sure they want to use the restroom, and they're generally gonna want to make sure it doesn't need to be a big, huge endeavor. But they sell things, they sell tools that you can just kind of. It's literally what you would think. Squirt a bit of water up your butt, push it out. Squirt a bit of water up your butt, push it out. This is obviously something the person wants to do on their own. It's not like you're sitting there playing with each other, having sexy time. I mean, unless that's something you're into. Generally, you're going to be sitting there alone, kind of doing some prep before. Or when I say you know what I mean. The person is going to be doing some prep to kind of clear themselves out. And then it's going to make the experience more enjoyable, probably for everyone. Going back to actually, getting to the point where you're sort of warming up and doing that, it's a matter of you want to never rush, okay? Never rush, and remember the whole, like, thing about consent being withdrawn. You also can you can stop at any point, okay? I've been with people who want to do stuff like that, and then they want to try, and they don't quite get to where they want. And that's okay. You need to make sure that it's not a pressure thing. If they're the person receiving and you're the person who's going to be giving, or you're the person maybe putting a toy in or whatever, never push someone. It's extremely important to communicate, right? I've been in situations with people where it's consent and communication is sexy, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh, like it's going to lose the moment if I ask someone if they're okay. Like, no, it's constantly asking them, hey, are you okay? Are you doing okay? Are you feeling good? Do you, we can slow it down? We can take a break? Like, saying those things, giving those reassurances, right? I will tell you, I think so many people are afraid of disappointing a partner that sometimes people push through things, and it means the world to someone when you just say, hey, do you want to take a break? Especially with these kinds of things. So I think that's extremely important to remember. Yeah. But generally, to give you an idea of someone who doesn't do much stuff with their butt, probably gonna take 20 minutes minimum to warm up. Maybe 10 minutes with a finger, 10 more minutes with a second finger, and even then it's kind of see what's going on, massive amounts of lube. It's also okay to have a day where you play and it's just fingers. And then another day you add something in. Go little by little. It doesn't have to be, and it probably should never be, I've never had anything in my butt before, right? Let's put a whole ass penis in there. It's a bit extreme for a lot of people. So just keep that in mind for everyone. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to add to that. I just feel like it's all important stuff to hit.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah, that was great. Go slow.
Yes, please
Research.
do not rush. Do not rush. Not sexy to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say, what is the most sexy is making someone feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even in the idea of people who have maybe fantasies that play into domination and control and stuff that is the fantasy seems less safe, you can't give into those fantasies until you actually feel safe on a fundamental level, right? So that's always the important thing. Is your goal as a partner for anyone is always to make sure someone feels safe. If you're doing that, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to put you way above 70% of other people who are in the dating pool. Just simply being someone who cares about your partner and their safety and their comfort, right? Remember, it's I'll put something else out there too, because I feel like it's hard sometimes for people with testosterone and people with estrogen to understand each other sometimes. And I say this in the sense that testosterone and estrogen are both sex hormones, and they affect people very differently. And what it's like to be horny for someone with testosterone is very different to be horny for someone with estrogen, right? And I think one of the biggest things is why people are like, why are guys such dicks? Why do guys only care about sex? Why are guys like, why do they think so much about sex? It's because testosterone is a fucking beast. And testosterone exists to make people breed, right? Like, it basically tells the person, like, breed, 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 breed. You have to have sex. You have to do that, like, generally. And so part of that is understanding if testosterone is your major sex hormone, you need to understand what that's doing to you, right? And so you need to understand in this sort of thing, and I only bring this up because we're talking about like how to be a good partner, like,
Yeah.
you need to understand that it's going to make you, whether you're like, oh, not all men, like, I'm not that, like, here's the reality. Testosterone is going to make you do some shitty things sometimes, or at least think some shitty thoughts, because it's going to make you instinctually feel like you need to have sex and you need to finish that sex. And so part of it is learning and growing and controlling those things of like, your body might be mad at you for stopping, but you need to.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're not fucking cavemen. Like,
Yeah. We've
Yeah.
evolved past that. Like we have more, there's a thought process now
Yeah.
instead of just do. Focus on the thought process and not the do.
Yeah, and that's something that I just put out there because I know sometimes it's hard for people to be like, oh, but I'm so close. All I've wanted to do was like have sex with this person so badly. Like, if I
Yeah.
just like, it's more important. I'm telling you right now, it's more important for you to ask that person, do you want to take a break? Are you okay? Are you safe? Like, making sure they're good so that you can both really appreciate a situation together, than it is to let hormones drive you being like, oh, but like if we just do it, then, you know, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. Yeah.
Point.
Yeah. But yeah, it's true. It's something for people with testosterone to acknowledge.
Mhm.
And I know, look, as a trans woman, I have an interesting insight because I used to have testosterone driving everything I did, and now I have estrogen as my primary sex hormone, and it's like I'm a completely different person. Like, I don't know what other way to put it. Is like, I've seen both sides, and it makes me go, whew, I feel so bad for men.
Yeah.
But also it's terrifying. Like, it's terrifying to think how different it is and how much like less kind of pressure it feels to have estrogen be your like main driving sex hormone in your body. It's completely different like mental outlook on things. It's wild. Okay, let's see, how y'all doing? Anyone need a restroom break or a water refill break or anything?
I'm good.
I'm checking my cup. It's good. I'm
You good?
alright.
Okay.
Yeah, let
Okay.
me do a quick recalibration on my model because it's like doing something stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Everyone has hormones to different degree. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Yes, like people have different hormone levels. Generally, people with testosterone and the way testosterone kind of pushes a body. And again, it's a general thing, right? Because different people have different levels of things and different people have other body factors and stuff like that. But generally, the way testosterone affects a body is different from the way that estrogen affects a body. And some people have high levels of, you know, either one of the two. And of course, everything I say is like generalized, right? Not every single person who has testosterone as their driving sex hormone is going to feel the same way or be driven to the same degree or whatever it might be. But generally, most people, when I say things like that, go like, oh, yeah. And I noticed in chat, a lot of people were like kind of nodding along and saying, oh, yeah, no, definitely understand that, right? Like, it's one of those things. And, you know, anyone in chat, you know, who has testosterone as their driving sex hormone, you don't have to feel bad about that idea. but it's important to acknowledge it, right? It's
Mhm.
important to acknowledge, like, yeah, um, yeah. No, I've seen documented cases of women being more horny than men. Horniness has nothing to do with what I'm saying. Yeah. Has nothing to do with what I'm saying, and also there's a bunch of different there's a bunch of different things. It's more on generalized terms. Remember, there's no absolutes. It's not like, well, in this one situation. No, we're just talking about, generalities which do trend in the way that I'm saying. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Something to be aware of and think about. That's it.
Let me see. Okay. Yeah. This is a general kind of question. Hi everyone. I'm a 20-year-old woman who very recently came out of a 7-year relationship. This relationship at first was everything I could have hoped for, but eventually became emotionally abusive and toxic. I finally got out, but I've been struggling a bit since then, using content creation as my outlet to focus on. What else are good ways to move on from this? I eventually want to start dating again, but for now might stick to casual encounters and grow in the VTuber community. Thanks in advance. Anyone got some advice there? Getting out of a 7-year relationship became
Wow.
toxic, and how do I best move on from this is kind of the question.
I I would say I think what you're doing now is pretty healthy. I think focusing on yourself and your content and what you're wanting to do with yourself is probably I would say you're doing well if it sounds like you're very passionate about it too and wanting to work hard on that. You want to date again? I would say if anything, you know, look back on that relationship, make mental notes of kind of what parts went wrong and maybe what parts you learned from during that relationship that could be better executed in a new relationship. If anything, I think coming out of a relationship that's lasted that long has probably, hopefully, provided you more confidence in what you would like to see in your next partner. And don't be afraid to be that person who knows what they want now after something like that. And I apologize that it had to turn that route for you. It's very upsetting. That's all I have to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, long-term relationships are tough, and I think, first it was everything you could have hoped for, eventually got emotionally abusive and toxic. I feel like, I don't want to say we've all been there, but like a lot of us have been there, right? Like, not everyone has been in those long-term relationships that don't go the way we want. And that's even harder because when you're in there at that point, like, that's when you start really, finalizing things in your head, right? Like, eventually you get to a part in your relationship where you're like, oh, it's going to be this, and we're going to have this feature. And then it doesn't quite go the way you want. And that's okay, right? Like, 7 years is a long time, but it was a long time to learn. It was a long time to grow from those situations. I also had like a 7-year relationship that was first everything I hoped for, and then became emotionally abusive and toxic. Right? I've been in a couple toxic relationships in my life, but yeah, this situation actually feels kind of similar to. I was in a relationship. It got really toxic. It got really bad. Although for me, I don't know if it's everything. It seemed like it was everything I hoped for, but I think there was a lot of red flags that I just didn't acknowledge because I wanted so badly for things to work out, right? As we do to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I got out of that relationship right before I started streaming. And it was kind of a similar thing. I started focusing on myself, which is what you should be focusing on as well. I started focusing on myself, being able to, and for me it was like, as a trans person, I was able to really start to explore things that my abusive partner wouldn't let me explore. So that was a very unique experience that I don't know how this applies to you at all. Because I don't know if you're trans or cis, or in a situation like that. But regardless, you being in a 7-year relationship, it doesn't matter whether you're trans or not. There are elements of yourself that I'm sure you have not been able to explore because you've been with someone else and you've been, in a situation where you've been focusing on someone else. And if it's toxic and abusive, I would be willing to bet that there are things that you have conceded in yourself and given up while you've been in that relationship. So take this chance to really give yourself what you deserve, right? The happiness you deserve and the love and self-care you deserve. And explore yourself, right? And streaming, I think, is a great thing to do that. Focus on what makes you happy, what makes you you, and test that out. Moving on, there's no good way to move on necessarily. Time. They say time heals all wounds, and it's true.
Yeah.
It's hard. The journey is hard. Those early times are the hardest, but it gets better, right? And if you know your relationship was abusive and toxic, make sure you're just done. Cut the person off. Don't do things that, what's the, there's not like a one right way to move on, but what's not the right way to move on? I'm not saying you're doing this, but if you are, don't talk to that person anymore.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
There's a reason you're not together anymore.
Yeah.
Do not talk to that person anymore. Right?
Have not changed. They have not changed.
If there is any reason why you might have to maintain contact, for like legal reasons or anything like that, or like children, then keep it minimal, right? And that's it. Like, that's going to be the best way to move on, is just to make sure that you're cutting those ties in whatever way you can. Yeah, eventually I want to start dating again. I might stick to casual encounters. Yeah, just don't feel pressure, right? I know the biggest thing that I struggle with sometimes, and I know plenty of people struggle with this, is eventually after being alone, especially after being in a long-term relationship, there becomes this feeling of like this need for validation through a relationship.
Yeah.
Which is, I really wish I had somebody. And then that's how people end up in these situations that aren't good. Yeah. Is because, like I said, I wanted so badly to have this relationship work out, and that's how you end up in bad situations again. Make sure you're really ready. It's okay to take things slow. It's okay to have casual encounters, like you said, right? Like, there's a lot of, let me put it this way, there's a lot of people in the VTuber community. If you're a VTuber, there are a lot of VTubers that
would like to have a casual encounter, maybe.
Yeah, with people that they are yeah. Let's just say my Loven's app list is very, very, very long. But anyway, yeah.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I mean, true. Like not humble brag or whatever, but like, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get casual encounters? Don't be weird, champ.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. Don't be weird, champ, and just be friends with people, right? Everything comes out of friendships, right? I don't
Don't come at it right off the bat in a certain type of way. Just let it get there naturally. That's the biggest mistake I see people in the community make. It's like, you'll get there at some point if you're meant to get there. Trust me, you'll get there.
No, exactly. Yeah.
There's no reason to come at them in your literal first interaction some type of way. It's just not necessary most of the time. Everyone's different, right? But in most cases, I think people like to gradually get there. So just let it get there naturally. You don't need to force anything. If it's gonna happen, trust me, it'll happen. You don't need to rush it in your first DM to them. Okay? That's all I'll say about that.
Siege, thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. Welcome on in, raiders. How's it going? How's it going? Yeah, no.
Raiders.
I think yeah, because I've had that too. I've had that experience where, and I feel
Mm.
like when we've been VTubing for long enough, like we all get that experience where
Yeah.
someone maybe is a little bit too headstrong immediately, and you're like,
Yes. Oh, that's a
uh,
lot. Like I just met you. That's a lot.
yeah, and
Amongst
there's
other VTubers, or are
yeah,
we talking?
yeah. I
Yes,
don't know if
other
you ever
creators.
had that amongst other
Yeah.
VTubers.
Oh God,
Sweet summer child.
I am preparing myself.
I mean, the thing for me that I think is funny is like, so I find that the vast majority of the VTuber community, it's at least women who I am attracted to women, right? So for me, like the vast majority of the VTuber community, tends to lean more submissive.
Mm.
So I will have a lot of interactions where I talk to someone and they're like, "You're a top, you're a dom, like you're a dommy mom," and like some people are like, oh, like, you know, they just act kind of normally, but I every so often I'll have someone who's like, oh my god, you're a dommy mommy, like I need you right now, and I'm like,
It's a
like,
mutual thing. I won't just top any sub. Like there's a
yeah,
lot
exactly,
of you, you know?
yeah. It's like, let me like, I don't even know who you are,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
There's got to be a desire to act that way, which I think people like miss out on. It's
Yeah.
just not any passerby. Like
Yeah.
they forget that we're like normal and have like normal interactions, and it's not always like that, you know? Just there's a choice being made.
My God's
It's not
face.
by you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Dommy mommy problems. Look, it's. I would rather have this problem than other problems.
Oh yeah,
I
for
would rather
sure.
have this problem than be the sub who's like, it's so hard to find someone. Like being, I feel bad for lesbian subs in the VTuber community
Mm.
because so many women. So many women are just generally submissive, or if there's switches, they're like submissive leaning and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
which is like, you know, no problem with that. It's just kind of where the demographics fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, how to and if also, let me put this out there: if someone is asking as a viewer, how do I get casual encounters, how do I smash a VTuber, the answer is
Oh.
you don't. You
Don't.
don't. Sorry. Bye.
There's a different dynamic and a different relationship that 9 times out of 10 it needs to be maintained for not only my sake but like probably yours, because there's like a
Oh.
weird dynamic there, and I don't think you guys realize it's easy for you as well to get taken advantage of. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't be so quick to go to that point. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, literally, I'm not even exaggerating. 99% of the time, it will not escalate beyond that because it just
Yeah.
most times it can't. Like it really, really genuinely shouldn't. So it's not, don't take it personally. You know, it's just, it's probably for your own benefit, honestly. You could easily
Yeah,
get taken advantage of. It's not cool.
it's true.
You
It's
know?
true. And, you know, maybe like if you drop 5K in my donos, like I'll think about it, like maybe, but
She'll think long and hard about it.
yeah. But other than that, I mean, yeah, no, it just
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. It's one, it's right. It's like, yeah.
So rare. Like and a lot of the times it's easier with other VTubers because in my opinion, you have a lot more in common. You have very common ground. They understand what you do. They're in the same space as you. You have people who could probably vouch for them. All that kind of thing goes into it. As like on the other end, it's you guys are more like anonymous. You don't, you know, I know some of your streamers, and I don't want to take that like from you, but the majority, I believe, are probably not streamers and maybe not even VTubers. So maybe you lack
Mhm.
that common ground, you know? It's just a level of of a sense of like trust and understanding and all that kind of good stuff that also kind of goes into it.
Yeah.
Well, so
At this point, I wouldn't date anyone currently. Like, this would probably potentially change in the future. But like at this point in my
mm,
life, like I wouldn't date anyone that wasn't a content creator.
yeah,
Like I need
because
someone who has a similar understanding of what I do,
yeah,
and yeah,
mhm.
it just
it's
makes
it's very hard for people not in the space to understand why we do what we do for the amount of time that we do, right? It's very
right.
time consuming and it might not fulfill the needs of someone who's not in that space. Like it probably won't fulfill those needs because it's a lot of time and dedication spent with someone who's literally not you. So it can be hard. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
It's
boy.
it's it's just one of those things. I don't know. Y'all
Yeah.
ever had friends or experience yourself like people that date outside of like streaming and they have a partner who's like, but I don't understand why you can't just take a few days off. I don't understand why you can't just stream later or stream earlier or like hang out with me tonight and just cancel your stream. Like,
Oh yeah,
right?
for
Like,
sure. You just
yeah.
don't get it. You have to be in it to understand. Like, and in it at a serious level. Like, not, not so much. If you're streaming casually, like maybe that's one thing. If you're like in it full time, it's a different beast, and it's hard to understand unless you're within that space. So
Yeah.
Dude, if I wasn't a streamer and I was dating a streamer and they were making the big old boo boo bucks, I'd be like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do whatever you want. Yeah. You have a subathon that's a week long. All right. I'm
yes,
buying
sir.
you food. I'll bring you a pillow. Whatever you need.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be nice,
someone who
actually.
someone who tries to at least understand for sure.
Yeah,
It's
and be
a
very
It's
supportive.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
that'd be cute. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's necessary. I would argue that that is like probably necessary. That's probably one of the only healthy ways you could come at that is like just understanding and being there for them through it. Like especially with like some people who are like or like looter streamers partners, right? Like sometimes the way you speak, a normal person would be like, "Whoa, why are you talking to strangers like that? Like, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
doing? You know, like why are you shaking your tits on screen for subs?" It's like, well, unless you're a streamer, you don't understand, you know.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
it's true. It's true. There's all kinds of like I think anything that falls under like what is some level of like parasocial work, which is what,
yeah,
streaming is. I've
mhm,
always been very transparent about that. And like,
yeah,
it's the same thing as like adult entertainment, like stuff like that. Stuff that provides like, hey, I want you to be able to connect with me and I want to have like a connection with you as like the primary form of our entertainment. It's very personal. Yeah. Like a partner needs to be able to understand that, like what it is at
yeah,
its core and like, right, same thing with adult content, right? Like someone can't date a porn star if they don't understand what the work they do is and they aren't like okay with that, right?
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
Not everyone needs to be okay with dating a porn star, but
mhm,
someone has to be okay with that in order to do that, right?
Like,
yeah,
It's the
come
same.
on. You
It's
know
the,
what you're getting into, my man.
yeah, and it's the same
yeah,
thing with same thing with the streamer. Like not everyone understands, I think, what people have to be okay with, and so yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that idea. Yeah. All right, let me see. Oh, what are some good things for virgins to do in preparation for their first time?
Boy,
Masturbate
Yeah.
a lot.
yes, yes.
How I'll
Yeah?
Build your
Yeah.
stamina.
why so
Yeah, build
I
that
I have
stamina.
I have some reasons as to why I think that's a good idea, but do you have any specific reasons as to why you say that?
Um, I think just understanding what you like and how to
Mm,
Yeah, okay.
how to pleasure yourself. There's a lot of inexperienced people out there in the world, and if you don't mind, coming across someone who is a bit more inexperienced, and you don't mind yourself finishing yourself after a sexual experience, and they can respect that, they will learn from that, and then it's kind of like a teacher, right? Like, you can be a teacher for that person. You can be like, oh, I
Mm.
like it like this, or I grip it like this hard, or stuff like that, or like maybe pinch here harder, but not too hard.
I need someone to drop a powder AO for me in response to that. I heard
love
grip it, and I just went. I
I
had
heard
the
pinch
head
it, and I was
shake,
like, huh?
There's like it's true though. There's like levels of pressure that you yourself know what you like, and I
Mm.
think if you're able to convey and teach that to someone, then I think you'll go into it with a very good mindset.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
Also, if you're open to things like toys, when you maybe
Mm.
become not a virgin, it's not going to be exactly the same thing. But yeah, it's a nice experience, and I would highly recommend it. But just don't get your hopes up way too much.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
exercise.
Exercise.
Sex can be a very physical thing for both people.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you're very
Yes.
out of shape, right? If you're very out of shape, like, I don't know how to describe it. If you're a virgin, you've never had sex, it's like swimming. It's like a full body
Yeah.
thing. Now, there are different positions to be able to like put less stress on the body and
Yes.
do things more. One of my favorites, low energy position, but still hits hard because it's low energy because it puts everything into the the penetration, is when it's what some people call the lazy cowgirl, which is the top lying on their back with the bottom on top, like almost like a missionary style, like a reverse missionary style.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
then the person who is the top on the bottom is able to basically put all of their energy and force and
Oh.
stuff into using
Mm.
their legs and hips to
Ah.
just like thrust and penetrate by like grabbing the hips of the other person, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because the other
Um
way you have to keep yourself up, like probably with like your arms, and that's a lot of like
yeah,
pressure there.
exactly. You're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
missionary style, you're like planking in
Yeah.
some way, right?
Yeah.
Because yeah, you do.
Definitely
Mm.
stretch a bit, maybe
Oh
too.
yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
man,
Yeah.
practice being in those positions in a sense. Like,
Yeah, because
just
otherwise,
preparing.
like especially if you're in a tight space, like you're gonna
Yeah.
cramp up. Like your
Yeah.
legs, especially legs are the first thing to be like, oh my God, so just,
Yeah.
yeah, I think exercise, I think Powder put it really well, like masturbate a lot, know yourself,
Mhm.
figure out what you like. That's important. Um yeah, be open with yourself and be willing to try new things and do stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if like this is a bit more like specific, but like
Uh-huh.
from my experience, if you come across a person who is taller or shorter, and you practice the positions, they might not always go exactly how you practice
Oh,
them. Like, you might
right.
be in more of a squat position or something too. So, definitely work on that endurance. You're gonna get sweaty, and that's okay. Very
Yeah.
sweaty. It's all
Yeah,
right. Lots of
that's
fluids.
yeah.
Mm.
You might get very sweaty, so you have to just
Mm.
be prepared for it. Yeah.
Yes. Please like have what you if you're gonna like decide to do it, like sometimes I know it's very like last minute decision, but there are certain things you need. You need like water, you need like
Mhm.
uh you know contraceptive whatever like that kind of stuff, like please don't just like forget about that because it's in the moment and you want to do it. Like you have to again like going back to like let the thought process in a little bit before the all of the chemicals take control of you, and just think about like a couple things that you probably need, maybe like a pillow if you're in the right situation, just like just
Right.
little things like that. Like please just take half a second, and like Marina said earlier, it's not going to ruin anything. Like literally it doesn't matter. If you're in that moment and you want to do it, you're going to fucking do it. It will not ruin anything to just
Yeah.
take half a second to fucking get the stuff you need before you start. So please
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna make you and them more comfortable. Please do it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Good job.
Um,
That was solid advice, guys. Oh
yeah,
my
those are good
gosh.
questions.
I
That
wish
was a
I
good
got
question. Yeah. You wish someone told you to masturbate more before you had sex for the first time?
I wish someone told me to get fucking water. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
That's
right?
why I'm saying it, because it's like then like I'm like croaking like a frog. I'm like, what is going on? Like you need water.
All right, let me see. Well, someone in chat, let me see. Someone in chat said, and I wanted to touch on this. Is it weird I can never finish? Like, I make sure my partner is satisfied, and then I just finish myself. Is it weird that you can't finish during penetrative sex? Is that what you mean? Because no,
Oh,
it's not
No,
weird.
that's fine.
Yeah, different people can take different amounts of time and different things, right?
Yeah.
It also depends on certain situations. There's a lot of pressures that can affect that. Like, for example, we just talked about how strenuous sex can be. Like, sometimes people are like, yeah, I can get myself off in like a minute, 2 minutes, whatever. And then they go to do it with somebody and they're like, oh God, I'm so tired. Holy shit. And like all that they're thinking about is like all the energy and stuff that's being put into having sex, or they're anxious because they're with another person now, or whatever it might be. There can be a million different things that cause someone to just not be able to finish as quickly or not finish at all. And
yeah.
that's okay. And also again, communication. Like,
Exactly.
it's important to be able to say something like, hey, are like, if your partner finished, right? If your partner finishes and like your concern is like, oh well, I didn't finish, like, like I said, you can just communicate like you can just stop too. You don't need to finish. If you want to finish, like, yeah, getting yourself off is fine. Like I think you mentioned that. Like, there's no problem with that. But don't ever feel obligated to finish. Like, either partner can just be like, yeah, did you enjoy yourself? You can just stop, right? Like, you can just be like, yeah, like, I'm okay. Because I will say, being on either end, don't be the person who feels like, oh no, I messed up because my partner didn't finish.
Yeah.
Right? But also don't feel bad being if you don't like, sex isn't about finishing, right? Sex is about just enjoying your time with somebody else. If you finish, it's yeah, that's cool. Like, don't stress about it. Either way, like, yeah, it's gonna be all right. Either way, I think that's the important takeaway from there. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Should cum be eaten?
Is that it?
That's a personal preference.
Yeah, I think
I feel like a lot of the answers to
Should
these
it?
questions it's a personal preference.
Could it? Yes. Should it?
Yeah. Should it? Well, that depends.
Yeah, I think the question that we really want to look at, or the way we want to break it down is more, is it safe to swallow? Which,
Oh,
okay. That's
yeah.
understandable.
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
like
to my understanding,
Just
yes.
came across
Why
aggressive.
yeah,
would
well,
I
we'll
wouldn't
talk
be,
about both, right?
right?
Like the social,
Yeah.
like the social
Yeah.
pressures or whatever. Like, do
Yeah.
you have to swallow? No,
No.
no way,
Never.
right? Like, like
Yeah.
people make jokes like spitters or quitters, blah blah blah. But no, the reality
Whatever.
is,
Whatever.
like, yeah, the reality is, do what you want. If you don't want to swallow cum,
Oh.
don't swallow it. If
Uh,
you do want to swallow it, swallow it.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
It is
Don't let
uh,
anyone tell you that you have to or don't have to. They might want you to, but it's not necessary, and they should not put that pressure on you,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
because it's not always a pleasant experience. So,
Yeah.
do what you're cool with. If you don't like the taste of it, which is there's a very good chance you probably won't, then just
Yeah.
don't do it. Like it's not like it tastes good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's not.
I think for most people who do even enjoy swallowing, it's not like, oh yes, I get my treat. It's like, oh, it's really hot to think about, like, the action. It's more
Yeah.
like the mental
Yeah.
is hotter, and that's the
Mhm.
driving force behind it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, it's not that bad. Like that's I feel like kind of like what the way people think about it, and less so like, ooh, I could really go for a nice like
Exactly.
a yummy treat right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
like
Yeah.
the guys like the ones that I've been with have been very much so like they're just happy they came, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
Yeah.
Like but they will think it's hot. And
Mhm.
you just got to be like if you're open to giving it a try, you can, but if that's just really something you can't do, then yeah,
Don't do
I mean,
it.
it's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, don't do
fine.
it. Don't feel
Yeah.
obligated to because they'll see you
Yeah.
as like a hotter person. I think you being able to get to that point is a very good thing.
Yeah.
And they should
And
respect that.
the
Mm.
pineapple juice question, yeah, diet does affect it. Like, here's the reality. The reality is people who generally have more like fruit and vegetable diets and things like that, depending on the vegetables, a lot of those people generally have what we call cleaner diets. They will have better tasting everything, better tasting sweat, better tasting any
Mhm.
body fluids that come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I will put out there in that sense. Like, people who generally eat a lot of junk food, eat a lot of meat, stuff like that, like they probably won't taste as good, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for sweat or any of that stuff, right? Like it's all kind of affected by diet. Your diet affects your chemical makeup, yeah,
Mhm.
of those things. Yeah. Sweat too, yeah, literally any part of your body. That's why like people with certain diets will like smell certain ways, and there are certain spices or food things too that can like really really permeate people's bodies when it's really heavy in their diets. Yeah, so that's like something to think about. So if that is an important factor for you, yeah, like your whole diet and a consistent diet. It's not like, I think too many people are like, oh yeah, like I can just keep eating my McDonald's every day as long as I drink a glass of pineapple juice 30 minutes
Right
before I have.
before,
Yeah,
yeah.
like no, that's not how
Think
it
your
works.
body moves at that speed? Like, come on.
It's like, yeah, it's literally a matter of like making your diet better and just like making it a part of your diet, right?
Yes.
Having a glass of fruit juice every day or something is
Mm.
is the kind of thing that could start to affect your body, but not
Over time,
a matter
gradually,
of
not
yeah.
overnight.
Yeah.
Don't take a shot of pineapple juice before you like
I'm seeing
head
my
into the
girl
bedroom.
tomorrow. Let me
Yeah.
get some pineapple juice. Like, no, it's not how that works.
Buys pineapple juice in a box of condoms or lube is like, I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it's safe. It's safe to swallow for sure. Yeah, nothing wrong there.
Oh.
Um all right, let's see. Uh is orgasm denial safe? Yes. There's nothing wrong with not coming.
Is that,
If you're
wait, what is that?
That's a question. Do you not know what orgasm denial is?
No, I've
Okay.
never heard it like
So
called
orgasm
that.
denial would be, it's usually in some sort of base level dominant submissive thing, where let's say you were submissive and let's say you're submissive and someone is helping you, and as you're getting closer they tell you no, you have to stop, and they stop right before you come. That's orgasm denial.
Oh,
Which for
why?
most people is like, that sounds not fun, right? But I don't know. Some people like the level of control. Some people like the level of like being told they like get all the way close and then they can't like finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Me personally, I'm not into orgasm denial. I think edging is fun, but that's different. Like edging is I'm going to get there eventually. It's not, I'm not being told like no, you can't. Put it away. You're done. Like what? Huh?
Yeah, my initial reaction is like, huh? Why?
Yeah.
Some people just like being obedient, like to that like level. Like, oh, you said I can't. Like, okay, like that I can't then. You know, like that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Um. So I'm trying to understand this question. My partner accumulates too much pre-cum, like you left a faucet on. But my issue is any tips to avoid pregnancy because the condom breaks really easily because of the pre-cum.
Wow.
That's a loaded question. Literally.
That it's
lucky.
Okay, so there's a couple. Yeah, here, let me I'm gonna edit the question. If anyone wanna say something?
I think you should change what brand of condom you're using to start with. You should not be breaking that easily.
I love you,
Condoms
Marina.
are very, very strong. Like generally, they have to be. So if the ones that you're using are breaking easily, please get better ones. Because that could cause a lot of issues. You know, I think you should try something else, maybe. Maybe the
Yeah.
size of the condom is not correct for your partner's dick size. That they do come in sizes,
Mhm.
so maybe they should get a different size. I don't know if the pre-cum is necessarily causing your
Yeah,
problem. That doesn't sound right. I think
like are
something
you
else is
using a
going
bulk
on.
box that like someone left in their car over the summer and like
Yeah. Oh,
they're
and
all
they also
crispy?
expire. They get
Yeah.
bad with time. So if you're using an old box, please, please buy a new one because they do expire. They don't last forever. They last for a long time, but not forever. So please replace the ones you're using and make sure it's the correct size. That's very important.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a couple different things here that I'm just like, So the different levels of pre-cum or fluid, that's normal. That's fine. Like
It's normal. Yeah.
that's not an issue. That's like, someone
Should
getting
not
more
affect
wet or
the
less wet. Like,
Yeah, that
that
was my
shouldn't affect
initial
the
thought
performance
too.
of the condom. Like unless it's too big, or vice, or no, not if it's too small. But if it's too big, that might be causing problems. But
are you using enough lubrication? That's more likely to break a condom
oh
than
yeah. Mm-hmm. If you're
than
rushing
anything
into
else.
it too much,
True.
maybe
Yeah.
could be an issue. They're not supposed to do that easily. It's pretty hard to do that. Like, and if that's happening regularly, I think you're doing something wrong or the condoms are not good.
Yeah.
Here's
Be
another
open-
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
What's up? No, you're good. You go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna reinforce that. Yeah, be open to like I know that there's some women out there that are like afraid to use like a lubrication. Be
Yeah.
open to I would say be open to that. If it is potentially a how would you say it, friction? Maybe
Mhm.
causing it to or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. I think a lot of people of every gender have these things where they feel not good enough if they have to resort to like whatever it might be. And I
Yeah.
think one of those things is like, for example, lube. Yeah. Just because they're like, oh well, I thought I'm like supposed to get super super wet, so if I have to use lube, then that makes me like less desirable. Like no, like
Not at
those
all.
are things where like everyone is desirable based on just who they are as a person, right? Like people don't have to worry about the stuff, whether it comes to like the amount of pubic hair you want to like have, whether you shave or not shave, whether the shape of your vagina or your labia, like the whether you get very wet or not very wet, like all of these things are things that you can't control. And ultimately, I will tell you, like, people don't care. Like, most people are just happy to be getting some. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to stuff, when it comes to things like that, like, I'm gonna be real. Let's say, like, I use the shaving example, for example. Like, if you're someone who for one reason or another, either just doesn't want to or has a reason they can, because maybe they get really bad razor burn or whatever it might be, like literally personal preference is just enough, or you like the aesthetic, like someone choosing to not shave and being worried that they're gonna have a partner who's like, oh, I don't really like that you don't shave, get a new partner. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like it's not fair
That's
for
their issue,
someone to treat
not
someone
yours.
else, like a certain way based on like the way that they want to have their relationship. Now, if you want to shave and your partner like doesn't want you to shave, that's the same shit. You do what you want, right? It's your body.
It's your body.
Yeah, because I've had this conversation come up a lot where people ask me like, if I have a partner or something, like a lot of people ask me like, oh, what do you prefer? Like, and I'm always like, I don't care. If you want to shave or you want to not shave, the most important thing for me, and I'll tell you right now, this should be the same way for you gamers, like the most important thing for me is that you are comfortable with your body.
Yes.
That's first and foremost. Now, if you don't care, because a lot of the time I met with, honestly, I don't really care. I don't really think about it. Then I will say, personal, like what I think is hot, which is I don't mind when someone doesn't shave. Like I think it's hot, and they'll be like, oh yeah, oh that's less work for me. Like that's usually the response that I get. Yeah, and so it's just you can communicate, like you should communicate, right? Like that's the kind of conversation that you want to have. But ultimately, that's one example of the same thing with other stuff that's like less controlled, right? Like, your labia is gonna look like what your labia looks like. If you're worried that someone's not gonna like you because of shape or length or whatever it might be, it's probably not gonna ever be an issue. And it ever was an issue for some reason, fuck that person, right? Or
Yeah,
don't fuck that
seriously.
person, because that person's
Don't.
not like, you know what I mean?
They're taking a lot for granted there to be like, oh, hey, I
Yeah.
don't like this. It's like I decided to do this with you, and that's what you're focusing on. Like, you don't deserve me. They don't deserve you at that point. If they really like, you know what I mean? They don't deserve you if they're really being like that, you know? So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it goes either way. Now let me clarify with the like the shaving, not shaving, whatever thing. Like, uh, the one thing that I feel like it doesn't super apply to is like being hygienic, which
yeah.
is like wash your dick,
Mm,
wash your
yeah.
coochie, like
Mhm.
things like that. Like take care of yourself.
Yeah.
But shaving or skin or whatever, like none of that has to do with hygiene. Like there's a big distinct difference, right?
Yeah.
Someone can have clean pubic hair, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
someone can have really clean genitals with a lot of pubic hair, and someone can have dirty genitals with no pubic hair, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no correlation there between something being clean or not.
Mhm.
Just to throw out there, also the same thing to do with circumcision. Like, doesn't matter circumcised or not circumcised. Like, clean your dick.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah. No stinky dick.
Yeah.
No
No
stinky.
no stinky dick. Have you ever experienced stinky dick?
Oh, thank
No.
God.
No,
Thank
actually,
God,
okay.
no.
no. I've experienced the shaved and unshaved, and
Right.
honestly, the people that I've sexually been with, a lot of times people just want you to be clean, like hygienic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're like, I've never reached a point where like someone's like, oh, we've been like worked up and stuff, and then like they've taken one look at the thing and been like, no. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
never
right?
Yeah.
like
Takes a
most people are
special
just
kind of
like,
person to do
yeah.
that.
Like let's go, you know.
Yeah.
I've never had a person be like, sorry, bye.
Should be
This has
happy to be
never
there.
happened.
Like, why are
Yeah.
you thinking about that right now? Like, why?
Yeah. Yeah, too many people get self-conscious about their bodies or things like that, I find.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost like it's just I just yeah. Ugh. Just be clean. You're good.
All right. How are we doing? Do you want to take a couple more questions or?
Yeah, I'm good to take a couple. What about you, Lucky?
Nice. Good.
Yeah. Okay. We'll
Yes.
do a couple more and then we will wrap up on the sex ed stuff. But I'm having so much fun. I'm so happy that we're able to do this, and Lucky, I'm so happy you're able to pop in.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Let me see. Let me grab a couple from maybe some of the more recent ones. Let me look. Oh, I can. Okay. I feel like this one is one that I can I can comment on. This one is, as a trans femme who likes girls, I'm worried that being trans will turn potential partners away. So, you know what? First question I'll ask you too is, what is your sexuality?
Oh, I'm straight.
Me too.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
So I guess it could come from the other end of, if you were interested in a man and you found out that they were trans, you know, how does that factor into things for you?
I think it would only factor in for me because I might lack like the experience with like their body. But I think that's like the only, like, it would
Mhm.
be an insecurity on my end more than anything, that I wouldn't be able to like satisfy them maybe, or something like that. It
Yeah.
would just be like I would just feel unsure about how to like go about that. But in terms of like the actual relationship and stuff like that, it doesn't really factor in. But I would definitely be unsure of how to like approach that in that way.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right, right. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I already myself am like very kind of new to
Mm-hmm.
the trans community and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely fall under the uh, then again, I think it's hot when someone's just so confident in who they are. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like I if they are looking, for I would just I guess my advice on it is like don't be too worried. I think you're going to find someone who respects you and understands you on that level, and if they don't, then they're just not the person for you. Like,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
okay. Like it goes for anyone, any gender, trans, lesbian, gay, like preferences, whatever. You're going to find people
Mm-hmm.
that you mesh with and you don't mesh with, and we all
Yeah.
run into that issue. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I don't know.
Don't
no,
I
no,
force
that's
yourself into
yeah,
something because you think you're set on that person, but then like they're not like fully convinced or fully, like vibing with what you've got going on. Like I don't think anyone should ever like like force themselves into a corner that way, you know? And sometimes there you might come across someone who's like maybe unsure of how to approach it, but that could be like a teaching moment if you
right.
want to do that and if you're willing to do that. But if you're not wanting or willing to do that, that's also okay as well, you know? So,
yeah.
yeah.
I think yeah, so I think the point of kind of what I would what I was expecting and knew that y'all were gonna say is like uh you just kinda get to know somebody and
Trans
deal with that when you get there.
rights.
Like kinda say like
Yeah.
it's not like for most people, it's not a thing where it's like, oh, if you're trans, then like I don't want to talk to you or whatever, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing,
No.
right? Do transphobic people exist? Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And that's something that just there are racist people exist, homophobic people exist,
Right.
transphobic people exist. Like that's just something that is the reality of the world. That unfortunately there are always people that uh have problems with quote unquote the other, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just an issue. So as far as being a trans femme who's attracted to other women, hi, that's me. I was self-conscious about it too, but generally
Mhm.
it just kind of comes down to interacting with people and treating it like any other situation.
Yeah.
If I ever get to the point where I'm like interested in someone, whether it's on a casual flirtatious level or on a serious like emotional level, um I just approach it normally and I just see where things go. And
Yeah.
you know, I've had relationships and interaction with plenty of cis women, plenty of trans women, like yeah, I've had interactions with all kinds of people and it doesn't uh I don't know. What I will say is that it's definitely something that is a fear when you're first transitioning or maybe first dating, but the reality is you will find people
Yeah.
regardless of whether you're trans or not. Like you'll always run into people who
Mhm.
just aren't interested in you,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just they're just not interested in you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even just chop it down to like, oh, they're not interested in me because I'm trans. Like
Right.
it
Yeah.
there's it's just
There's
so
other
many reasons.
factors.
Yeah, so many
So, and a
other
lot of
reasons.
people are so picky and
Yeah.
particular with things like
No.
that.
Yeah.
And I mean there's also other things that like certain people have certain preferences
Right.
with all kinds of things. Whether it's, preferences on just things that have to be like things that are attractive to them or things that are sexually exciting to them. And one of those things that doesn't make someone transphobic, also, just to note, is having a genital preference. And you may run into people who are lesbian who just simply prefer vaginas. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're transphobic or anything like that. It just means that for whatever reason, that's just something that's kind of sexually important and a preference to them, right? Like that's one of those things that is important to note. I always find, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's because someone had a genital preference or because someone just didn't click with you. At the end of the day, they didn't click with you, and you just move on the way any other person of any gender, right, would just move on from liking someone and it having like it not working out. Like things just sometimes don't work out. Are you afraid, like, but being afraid that you're never gonna find a partner because you're trans femme and you maybe don't feel like your body is feminine enough or whatever it might be? No, like you could find somebody, right?
Yeah.
You can find somebody. It's, you know what's hot? Confidence. You know what's hard to get as a trans person?
Seriously.
Confidence. But
Yeah.
if you can, you know, push yourself towards that way, become happier with yourself. Yeah. You know, it's like Powder said, like people that are confident in themselves, it's hot, right?
It is.
Yeah. And the same, because I know there may be trans people out there watching who are like, well, I'm not attracted to women, I'm attracted to men, and I'm worried. Like, same thing, right? Will you find men who don't want to date you specifically? Yeah, sure. Will you find men that do want to date you? Yeah, you will. Like, it's just a matter of meeting people and trying. But if your question is, hey, I feel bad, should I just give up on like trying to meet someone? The answer is no. Like,
No.
you're
Go ahead.
you're likable.
Yeah. In the dating world, I don't know everyone's ages and that's okay. I just know that it can be very hard at certain stages in your life to put yourself out there in the dating world, and a lot of people face the same issues that you may be facing too, like finding a partner or finding a long-term partner too, like a quick partner or a long-term partner. Just know you're not alone. There's so many people out there that have the same struggles too.
Yeah.
It's very common.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. You know, you have your whole rest of your life. Just because you're not finding it immediately right now doesn't mean you should give up.
No, Please don't hold yourself back at all. Please put yourself out there. You know, you're not going to score unless you play.
Hey, yo.
Well,
So
I mean,
true.
if you're just sitting on the sidelines waiting for someone to hop into your lap, like, I'm sorry, buddy, but it doesn't usually happen like that.
Yeah, it's true.
Have confidence.
Just because someone said it, what about fetishism and for the sake of addressing it? Okay, so I think this goes down to not just trans women or trans people or anything. Like, this is all women. Think about the idea of if a dude is talking to you and it's like the only things they're ever saying to you is like, hey, baby girl, like, your fucking ass is so fat. Damn, like, I want a piece of that. Like, damn, I really want to have you up on me. Like, yeah, I really like everything. Their only interactions with you are like sexual. And it's very clear that they're just interested in you as a sexual object. Right? And in the trans setting, it's literally like, damn, I think it's so hot that you have these genitals, and like, I'd really like to like do this with you. And like, that's the only stuff they're saying to you. They're not like, hey, how are you? I've missed you. How's your day? Like, they're not treating you like a fucking human being. It doesn't matter whether you're trans or not. Like, you know, everyone deals with that. And you don't want those people, right? You don't want anyone who's objectifying you. That's what I'll say. And please, 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 because I know trans people in particular feel this very low, like, sense of like self-respect a lot of the time because of those fears that, we can have of, oh, well, what if people don't like me? And a lot of the time, again, trans or not, like a lot of the time, people who have lower self-respect end up dealing with like putting up with things they shouldn't, and
Yeah.
putting themselves in situations that are not fair to themselves and unsafe and whatever it might be. So yeah, at the end of the day, anyone who is going to be approaching you should be treating you like a human being and like you want to. If
Yes.
there are red flags, like they don't ask you about your day, like they don't care about anything but talking sexual to you, then yeah, that's alarming. And that should be you should get out of there whether you're trans or
Yeah.
not, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Treat anyone like an object or like they're only worthy of your time or attention because of one specific aspect of you, no matter what that aspect is. It's just not appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's okay. Yeah, for example, it's okay for, you to be getting close to someone, and if you're a trans woman who has a penis and they're like, I think it's kind of hot that you have, a penis, that doesn't mean that they're like being a chaser or they're being objectifying. If
Right.
they're like, they're just saying something, like they're free to say that, like that's not a problem. You just want to make sure that that's not the only topic of conversation. That's kind of the point I'm
Right.
making, right?
Yep.
And yeah, and Jay brings up a big point too. It's not just like, it can be with race too, like fetishizing
Yeah.
race and certain stereotypes and things like that, like penis size or whatever. Like, yeah, that's it's the same idea. You don't want someone who's fetishizing you in any way because of, gender, race, like whatever it might be. You want to make sure that at the end of the day, someone still respects you as a person and wants you as a person. Like, yeah. that's the important thing. And yeah. All right. Let's do one more.
That was a good question.
Yeah. Let's do one more. Okay, let's see. Sure. I think it's a good one. I have always been so uncomfortable talking about sex and the actions around it, but I'm always drawn to it. Is it okay that I'm scared of sex? Personally, I think it is, but I don't know.
Yeah. I'm kind of that way in a way. In a sense. Sorry. Could you read it off one more time? Because I can touch on a couple parts of it, I think.
Yeah. I can't. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna put it on the screen. So it's, I have always been uncomfortable talking about sex and the actions around it, but I'm drawn to it. It says I'm ever drawn to it. So I think it's I'm ever drawn to it. So like I'm scared of talking about it, but I can't stop thinking about it. Like there are things that I like, I'm interested in it, but I am afraid about talking about it, right? And uncomfortable. That's fair too. You can want to talk about being uncomfortable. Is it okay that I'm scared of sex? Is the question. Yeah.
It sounds like they're scared of talking about sex, or is it like scared of the action?
Sounds
I'm
to me
wondering.
like they're uncomfortable talking about it. They're
Talking about
intrigued by
it.
the idea of it, and they
Right.
want to learn more about it. It's
Right.
okay to learn about it in private. You don't ever
Yeah.
have to talk about it. If that's the source of what's making you uncomfortable and you want to explore it like in private on your own, that's totally fine. And just because it's normalized for other people to talk about sex doesn't mean that has to be normalized for you. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
you can learn about it in private and you can explore it in private in your own way, whatever is comfortable for you. If you want to stop, then you could stop at whatever level you're comfortable with, I think.
Right. And if you're afraid of the action
Mm.
of sex, I would probably in a sense maybe it's hard, right? Cuz I
Mm.
think there's a lot of good resources on the internet that may help soothe your concerns about it.
Yeah.
I also think that
Mhm.
there's a lot of people out there who are willing to help, like, guide you even through the process. Like, a healthy relationship would be someone who's willing to teach you and make you feel comfortable. I think a lot of people out there who want to have good sex are going to make an effort to make sure that you are comfortable and they are comfortable. Um, they, granted, like, I know some people are into pain and stuff like that, but most of the time, they just want to please you and please themselves at the same time. So, um, yeah, it's okay to not talk about it. There's nothing weird about not wanting to talk about it. I think, for instance, myself included, I'm very bashful when it comes to talking about sexual things. I get like a little like smiley, as you can tell about it, and almost in a joking way talk about it in
Yeah.
some senses. But I'm a very like I think it's very important. I think it's very good conversations need to be had so that people can learn more about it
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they don't face the same concerns that you and I both have where
Mm.
we're a little unsure about sex. Like,
Yeah.
if anything, I hope like if you are here that just like maybe watching how we approach this hopefully can provide some sort of comfort to you. I think
Yeah.
um yeah, I'm a very bashful person when it comes to talking or mentioning it. I totally understand, and that is okay. You can. The internet is crazy. There's a lot of people that can help you out.
Yeah.
It should be pleasurable. It should never hurt you. Okay.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. No,
That's
I
my
think
that's me.
it's part of it's part of why we do this, right? Like part of why I want to run this show every week is because talking about sex can be taboo. It can be
Mm.
taboo for certain cultures even more so, and it's taboo more for women to be able to talk about sex and stuff like that. Um it's but it doesn't have to be, right? And it shouldn't be. And there's a reason why, even with like the Twitch TOS is like
Yeah.
sex ed
Right.
is allowed to be talked about, and they make that
Mm.
very clear and apparent because it's it's important, right? it's
Yeah.
it's important for people to be able to have these conversations in an educational way and in a healthy way. So I think that's part of it is if you're uncomfortable talking about sex, I think it's potentially normal, it's
Mm.
Right.
it's just it's understanding being able to be in a situation where you're like, hey, I'm just gonna be more sexually open with myself and with talking about stuff, and yeah, then you can have those discussions with the people that you need to, and I think that's good. That's
Yes.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I touch on that just real quick? I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Lucky.
Oh, you're fine.
I found that although I'm more like bashful about talking about sexual things and like it's not necessarily something I always like to talk about or bring up, I find that when I put myself in an environment where I'm comfortable asking questions to people, um, that they are almost always willing to help me understand. As funny as it is today, um, during talking with my chat, it was eye opening for me. I knew guys' peepees came in different like lengths and girth, and I know there's like some with little hoodies on, but I did not know that they could come in different shapes. And
Cool.
only recently, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that did I learn that even women's parts down there were
Oh.
very different.
Yes.
So
Mm.
I think like it's okay to be very curious and to think about it. I
Yeah.
would say if you find yourself in an environment where you can ask those questions, there's a lot of people that are a bit more knowledgeable out there willing to answer those questions and maybe provide some insight, and it might spark something in your brain to like go research a bit more, so that if you come across something like that in the real world, you won't be like taken aback or
Oh,
surprised,
yeah.
and that might freak someone out if you're kind of like, what the, because
Yeah.
you're unknowledgeable. So
Mm,
just don't be afraid to ask questions. I'm getting more and more comfortable with the people around me, and I
Yeah.
feel like, as much as I'm like, wait, really? Like, what? I feel like I've been left in the dark for so long. Things like this are super important, and
Yeah.
yeah, I hope, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know, you
And,
feel more comfortable.
build those friendships too with people, because I will tell you, I literally sometimes have people DM me that are just like, hey Marina, can I ask you a question? And then they're just like asking me a random sex ed question because they know that
mm,
they feel comfortable with me, right, being able to talk to me
yeah.
and ask these things. So it's it's building up those friendships and resources and stuff like that for when you can reach out and uh, come to these shows on Fridays and ask us questions, when
Mhm.
you have stuff that you want to ask. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Lucky?
Um, I just want to say that, like, feeling like that you're afraid to like talk about it, that it's embarrassing or whatever. It's understandable because there's so much stigma like around doing so. And so I just want to emphasize you're not weird for feeling uncomfortable with that. And like, even though I'm a big advocate, like in general, of like, talk about these things, like normalize these things. If you personally don't want to talk about it and don't feel like you're at that point, then don't force yourself to do so either. There's people like us who are comfortable with it or becoming comfortable with it that can do that. You don't have to be the proponent of that. You don't have to be a face of something that you're not comfortable with. So that's totally fair because it is a pretty taboo thing still to this day,
Mhm.
unfortunately. So you
Mm.
know that's your
And
feeling
yeah,
valid there. It's not
Yeah.
weird.
Yes.
yeah. The internet is also a very like, from what I've seen, I've grown up very like part of like, to where sex hasn't been, obviously, because I just found out about dick shapes today. But
Mm,
I grew up not knowing a lot, and the internet is a very like very sexual place that I myself have found out.
yeah.
Social media is a very sexual place. It can be very overwhelming for
Mhm.
someone who's grown up and not really had those conversations with people. So I think it's okay to feel a little scared at first, but
Yeah.
slowly take steps slowly, and I think
Mhm.
it should be something that's just, you're okay to talk about. In the end, you'll get there, and it's okay whatever steps you take.
Yes.
Don't need to know everything about it. Just
Yeah.
know like the basics for your own health and safety. If you plan on having sex with someone, you should definitely have basic information. But if you don't want to get into anything too specific or, out of your comfort zone, you can live in ignorance. It's fine. Just know the basics to keep yourself safe. And that's it. That's what I would recommend. At least familiarize yourself with that. But beyond that, it's all like extra. It's pretty much just for fun beyond that. So I don't need all of it. It's a lot. It can be a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. All right. You two are wonderful, and I'm so happy that we got to chat about this today. I had a
Yeah,
blast, and I
me
think,
too.
having you
Yeah.
two here to share your perspectives, different perspectives, unique perspectives to when we had Angel and Tane on, or when I had
Mhm.
Bori and Freya on, or when I'll have anyone else on.
Hmm.
Um, every single person I have on here, it's always so insightful. Um, I really appreciate you taking the time not only to come here, but to also just being open, right?
No, yeah.
Sharing, the level of personal details which you do. I really appreciate that, and I think it really helps, helps people out.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to say a big thank you to you, Marina. I think like
Mhm.
I've like that last question for me, like I resonate with 100%, and I feel thankful to you providing this sort of platform to where there's open discussion for this. And
Yeah.
I think it's like so healthy. And not only have I learned some things too about both of your perspectives on things, but I've learned a lot about, like, sex ed and safely going about things, and, and learning that it's okay. A lot of things are okay. So thank you, Marina. I'm just very thankful. I think it's so
Oh,
awesome. I
thank you.
thank you for reaching out to me. I am someone who's very nervous and very bashful about the sexual things. And
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, Lucky, too, for your insight. I appreciate all these opinions and preferences and stuff. Ah.
Aw,
I
you're so
I
cute.
just I just think it's great, and I wish
Yeah.
this shit was around when I was younger, dude.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I
fuck,
agree.
man. Like,
Everything would have been so much less scary and confusing.
yeah,
I would have made so many less mistakes, you know? So
right?
I get where
Yeah.
you're coming from for sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
But thank you, Marina, for inviting me. I know it was last minute, but I'm really glad I decided to come. I had a lot
Me
of fun.
too.
It was cool talking
Yeah.
with you guys. Like I've never talked with Powder like about any of this type of stuff. So it's so cool to like hear that, you know. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. And I learn a lot from Marina like on a daily basis. So this was like extra super cool. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And I hope, I've told other people that I've had on here, like, this was such a great time. I would love to have you on again. If you're ever interested in coming back, I will keep you in mind and, reach out
Absolutely.
again about popping on in a future show. Yeah, it's always fun to revisit because, 180 questions, we got through a
Right.
handful. Like,
We got
there's
yeah.
always stuff to talk about, right?
Mhm.
yeah.
Um, and these, what do we call it? Like relationship advice questions in particular are the ones that are
Yeah.
really interesting. Oh, thank you for the gifts up to Powder. I appreciate it.
Yay! I was having literally having PayPal issues trying to resub to you. So thank you
Oh,
for
no.
the freaking
no
gift. I was over
worries.
here like trying to subtly like reactivate my PayPal bullshit because
Oh
it
my
was like
gosh.
having an error, and then like I was like, I don't want to freeze on screen.
No worries.
Thank
No
you,
worries.
Matthias. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the gift sub. I really appreciate it. Yeah,
Speaking of,
yeah, if I can throw it there for you, the two wonderful people that we hung out with. Oh, Matthias, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate that. I'm gonna drop this collab command a couple times there. That is Lucky and Powder's links. Please go follow them. Check out their content. They are both wonderful, amazing content creators, and I know a lot of y'all came from their communities, so you already know that. But yeah, and if you had fun and you want to check out more of my content when I'm not doing the sex ed streams, drop me a follow.
Yes.
You can join the Discord over here. Oh my gosh, thank you for the gift sub. I really appreciate that.
sub before we leave, please.
The Chad. Gift the Chad.
Marina, oh my gosh, worked so hard, and providing this sort of content is just so
Yes.
important. And oh my gosh,
Thank
I'm
you.
just
So
hyping them
awesome.
up. I'm just trying to hype them up. You deserve it, dude. This advice you put out there on Twitch, pay her. Pay him. Let's go. Come on.
So true.
I appreciate you being my hype woman. Thank you. Yeah, I want to
my
throw my
God.
Discord link out there. If you're not in the Discord already, it's a great community we have. Lots of conversations that happen. We also have conversations, about stuff like this. There's a whole LGBTQ channel in particular where people can talk about like queer relationships and questions they have and stuff like that in my Discord. So please consider joining. It's discord.gg/armpits, or there's the link I threw out there. If you want to check out
Armpits.
yeah, I know, honestly, I had no idea why it would be armpits,
Yeah,
but
why? That
Whoa.
seems random for you,
um,
Marina. You know.
Oh my. Nice.
uh,
Nice.
Matthias, thank you so much for the other sub. I appreciate that. Thank you.
The
Yeah, my
armpits.
socials here. Here are my socials. This is everywhere where I create content because I stream on other websites that aren't Twitch.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, there we go. I stream on other websites that are in Twitch, so if you want to check my socials, you can see everywhere that I do create content. But you can also, follow me on Twitter and TikTok and all that stuff. Thank you so much for the subs. I appreciate it. Thank you for the 5 gift subs.
It was the armpits.
Lord Saffleon. Is
Sub
that
for
it?
the pits.
Was it
Sub.
hashtag sub for the pits?
As
Sub for the
trending.
pits.
hashtag.
Yeah, but I had such a lovely time. So this is what I'm going to do. I normally stream at about 9 o'clock, and I had an early stream today. So I'm gonna keep streaming because I cut my stream off early yesterday when we were gonna finish Sonic and Knuckles. So I'm gonna take a BRB break, say goodbye to these lovely ladies, and then I will come back and we will finish out Sonic and Knuckles, which is my favorite Sonic game of all time.
Yes. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's gonna
So
be
good.
fun. So we'll hang out for a little bit longer if you want to hang around with me. I'd appreciate that. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Rallic, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. And everyone who popped in, we came from another community, and you're dropping me a follow right now. I do really appreciate that.
Yes.
Um,
Please follow.
Yeah, I
Must.
just so you know, because I know I gave an intro at the beginning of stream, but if you're maybe popped in the middle of stream, I'm a variety streamer. I play lots of games, a lot of retro games, horror games, kind of casual games. I love collabs, if you can't tell. I've done a lot of chatting collabs and stuff like that in my VTubing career, and this is a new show. This is only our 3rd week running the Sex Ed and Relationship Advice show, but we have a bunch of people coming up for this. I like to do a lot of, chatting collab style things like this, but yeah, you can catch my content doing all kinds of stuff. Stream on other websites doing things that I don't do here on Twitch. And you can check out all that. But yeah, drop in a follow so you can check my content out in the future. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Please
Yeah.
support Marina. There's gonna be more shows too.
Yes.
More
Yeah.
shows.
More
Next
amazing
week-
guests.
Yeah, let me see. Because I know I announced like a big image of people I'm going to be with, but I have next week. Oh my gosh.
Sheesh.
Mialita, thank you for the sub. And Rallic, thank you for the subs. I appreciate that. Next week, I'm going to have Vexoria and Prism are going to be
Wow.
my 2 guests
Nice.
next Friday. So I'm really excited.
It's gonna be amazing.
It is.
Thank you. Yeah. And then after that, I'm going to have, who are we having? Mim and Coconuts.
Nice. Yes. My queen, Coco.
Mm.
Yay.
And then, let's see, I don't have the document open. Let me find it. There we go. I don't want to mix up my dates. After that, I will have, Lily Bell and Nia, or Artsy.
Sheesh.
And then I'm going to have Sif and, other guests that are unscheduled, but we're having, like, Shirahiko, Suko, like a bunch of people are going to be coming by, and I'm really, really excited. And we'll have Cotton on here, right? I gotta reschedule
Yes.
with Cotton when I
Yes.
can.
Yes.
But Cotton was super bummed that her PC was having problems. I love Mim,
Yeah.
hilarious. I love Mim too. Yeah, Mim is great. Mim is such a great person to talk to about sex ed stuff. Same with Vex
Yeah.
and Prism. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Thank you for the
It's gonna
Totally
be amazing.
I totally watched the VOD to kind of prepare. Just by the way.
Oh, did you?
I
Oh,
did, yeah.
that's another thing, chat. Did you have fun today and want to rewatch highlights? Well, I am in the
Oh.
process of having all of these weekly sex ed streams edited into highlight videos that will be put up on YouTube.
gonna
I
be
got my
awesome.
first one back. Yeah, I got my first one back from my first stream, and it's so fun. Really great editing job that was done.
My gosh, I can't wait to watch
Good
that.
job, editor. Good.
Wait,
good
what
shit.
happened? What did you tip me?
Oh,
Sorry, someone tipped and I didn't hear what it was. I need to make sure.
oh, that was the $5,000 to be parasocial.
Oh
with you.
my god, yeah. Okay, guess I gotta start thinking about dating you.
Dang.
Oh my god. It's a joke, Twitch. It's a joke.
Yeah, that's a joke. That's a joke.
It's a joke, Twitch. But it's a
That's
funny joke,
great.
right? Like, haha, haha. Sorry, let me grab. I normally have Stream Elements open. I didn't realize I didn't have it open. So let me look at my. Also, in the meantime, thank you. I saw Matthias another sub. I really appreciate that. Couple more subs. Thank you. You're spoiling me so much. Relic 5 gift subs.
You
Thank
should
thank
be
thank
spoiled.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sub for the pits.
Mm-hmm.
thank you. It was Upbeat 5. Thank you so much for the $5 dono. I appreciate it. Is this the sub button? XD? Yeah, thanks. All right.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I don't want to keep you super long. I know it's been almost 3 hours, so I'm gonna go to our BRB break. Thank you, everyone. I love you. I appreciate you. I will be back in about 5 minutes. Just gonna go refill my water, take a stretch break, say goodbye to these two, and I'll be back to hang out and play a game. Yeah. All right.
Yay!
Mwah, BRB. Also, again, if you haven't collab command, please go follow Powder and Lucky. Yeah, thank you. All right, I'll see you in a bit. Bye.
Hi guys.
Bye.